Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Abimbola Joke. With schools set to resume the coming weeks for the start of the new school calendar, we will be talking about education reforms, the kind of skill sets teachers need to have in order to impart the right knowledge and groom children to become competitive in the digital age. Here to discuss that are Abimbola Olashore, a seasoned investment banker with vast experience in public and private sector, with several awards and recognitions, including Nigerian's Entrepreneur Awards for Excellence in Leadership. He also serves as the chairman, Board of Governors of the Olashore International School. And joining us as well is Chukwuma, an entrepreneur and educator with an impressive background in business and a passion for education. She is the director of the reputable Children's International School in Lekki. Welcome to the show this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both
very much.
for being
Good morning.
here. Good morning. So it's back to school. I can see you already, like I can see your eyes rolling. I can see both of you already. You're already thinking of all the things you need to do. I wanted to start by first of all saying, kids have been out, parents have been everyone's been enjoying the break. What are sort of the things that you as administrators have to do during that break? Because I know you don't go away.
No, I don't. Well, essentially, we need to put school back in order in terms of infrastructure.
Okay.
We need to place orders for our resources, make sure that all the resources needed for the next academic session are in place. I'm talking about PE equipment, books for the library, make sure the facilities are in shape, essentially for the kids to return back to school. We also need to ensure that our teachers are ready to start another new session. There's a long induction period where we reappraise ourselves, agree our vision, and how we want the next session to pan out.
Okay. And you as you sort of manage and chair the school.
Yes, I think we also have the same issues. It's not a time for a break. Even though the teachers do deserve a break, they do go and rest, but it's time to plan for the new year. Also, bear in mind that sometimes when you are training kids, if I look at non-sector, which is secondary school, a child that comes into a school this year will be entering the workforce around 2030. So again, you have to spend time asking yourself what will be required in 2030 and start training. So it's not just bringing them in for this year, it's also now looking at other things that we need to do. And it's a lot of research, also interacting with other schools all over the world, interacting with educators, just trying to see that you get the kids already.
I wanted to get a sense from you before we go into, actually I want to use 2030 as a good benchmark to have our conversation. But as we sort of go into the school year starting, there's conversations that have continually happened globally, and I want to know how that conversation is also happening at your level around the school year being designed for an industrial age, and the fact that now we live in a digital age. Are we even saying, I mean, this sort of back to school noise that we're making, is the school year designed in a way that is most optimal for learning? I'd like to get your opinions on that.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, learning is a 24/7 system. It's not about going to school from 8 a.m. in the morning till 3 p.m. Every single minute of the day, a child is engaged in some form of learning or another. So the calendar, I suppose, is just to put a framework, a structure to learning in a school environment. But even when the holidays are in place, they're also learning.
So we'll get to that, because not all children are learning during the holidays, and so I would like to understand how you work with parents to help to make sure that kids are always learning. But I'd love to get the way you think of the school year. When you start to think of the kids coming into your school in the year 2030, they'll be going out there. How are you thinking of the school year, and do you think it is still is it the best way to optimize our children's time?
I'll start from 2030. You made the point that the schools now and the curriculum is designed for the industrial age. We are now in the fourth industrial revolution, where things about artificial intelligence is about creativity. If you look at a report about the job skills and things that are required in the job for 2030, there's a lot of emphasis on creativity. Critical thinking is key. Creativity has not really turned up. What that means is that learning and curriculum is not just within the class. Therefore, we also have a program that is also learning outside the classroom. What are you doing in the environment? What are you doing in the industry? How are you ensuring that your curriculum can develop that? So the classroom itself must be designed to deliver that. If you go back to when we were in school, it was designed around the teacher stands in front and everybody faces and repeat after me. It's not collaborative. Now, the classroom of today must be collaborative. The kids are going to learn off each other. We're also bringing in technology. Technology is also to enhance the educational experience. So these are all things that must bear in mind. So we don't talk about the school for just 1 year or what do you do. Like I said, you ask yourself, a kid comes to us at the age of 10, 11, they live at 15, 16. How have we prepared that kid for the year 2030?
Okay, so I want to take the focus off the kids and talk about teachers. Part of what you said is this time is a time where you do induction, you do training, you sort of get your teachers ready. In looking at how the traditional school system is set up, which is teacher in front, students, how is that changing when it comes to the training of teachers? And when you're talking about this, I want you to talk about your school, but also to talk about the public school system, the regular school system in Nigeria. The kids that come to you have a huge advantage, but also there's a huge population of Nigerian children that don't. Tell us about how you think this teacher training is changing, teacher education, teacher engagement.
Thank you very much, Biola. Our teachers need to engage in a totally different way from what we probably learned when we were in school. As Bimbo said, traditionally, the teacher stands in front of the classroom with the chalkboard and the students are there just soaking it all up. Now, school is about student-led. I keep telling my teachers, if I'm standing behind the classroom door and all I hear is your voice, then you're not doing something right. The kind of classroom engagement we have now is the children are collaborating, they're discussing, they're asking questions. This is what we call inquiry-based teaching and learning. So it is student-led. The students are there, the teacher is there to facilitate the learning. They no longer teach. In this digital age, information is available all around us. It's not about the textbook, it's not about the teacher being the repository of all the knowledge. It's about the teacher using all the knowledge available to facilitate the learning, such that the children are more engaged, the children are more inquisitive, the children are asking the right questions, and with that, they're able to develop their innovative and creativity skills.
Okay, just to add to that, and I'll give you my own experience with that. One thing we saw with parents, when they send a child to school, they're kind of, what grades are they going to get? What are the exam results? Now, you have teachers who have been successful in delivering that. Therefore, they're measured that, on this subject, the kids are all getting A's. So the teacher believes I'm doing the right thing. But we have to ask ourselves, we're not talking about 2030. So why not tell the teacher you have to change the way in which you're teaching, especially with the introduction of technology over the last 10 years. And you now realize even the kids are coming to the school, well, even a lot more technology advanced than the teachers. So we really have to go back to basics. When we're going to treat technology, we have said, first of all, let us first train the teachers. We have to send them abroad, we have to train them, we have to expose them, so that when they start bringing technology and the kids who happen to be much more adept, they can all be collaborating with it. So it was a challenge trying the teachers to first unlearn the way they've been doing things and now bring them up to date. But it's work in progress and it's been quite successful. But must always bear that in mind, that a lot more resources also must be put on the teachers and teaching aides so as to make sure that they are also successful in delivering.
Okay, I want to take this out of your schools and into sort of the general Nigerian context of education. Nigeria has the highest number of children out of school. Nigerian teacher trainings are being led by development agencies. When you look at the spend that's going into training Nigerian teachers, that training mostly is being led by DFID and other development agencies. DFID has just committed another £36 million to train teachers. When you look at the emphasis put on educating teachers and the education system in Nigeria and the budget we're using to support it, these things don't send the message that education is a priority in our country. When you look at the general education system in Nigeria, and you look at teachers that need to be retrained, you look at how is that happening and what do you think Nigeria needs to do differently? And if a minister of education is really going to start to look at 2030, I just want to use 2030 as a benchmark, as sort of like a roadmap, what are the things that need to start to happen now? And I want you to lead that.
Okay, thank you very much. One thing must bear in mind is that the environment is changing. Requirements of industry is actually changing. Requirements of the economy is also changing. Nowadays, we talk more about skills and skill-based. So therefore, if you ask me, also the education must now be talking about how do you also now deliver more vocational studies, more skills, so that when you come out of school, you actually have a skill. The world today, when we talk about jobs, people are going to start their own businesses. So it's not just training the teachers. You must also provide the aids. Talking about vocational education, it's not cheap. Some people think, oh, I said, look, when I talk about vocational education, it's also about equipment. Whatever vocation you pick, you must back it up with equipment. I'm not seeing enough investment in providing those kind of equipment. Even in the schools, we see them saying they are doing technical subjects. You now go to, and there are no labs. You ask yourself, where are you doing the experiment? So you've trained the teacher, but you've not created the environment where skills can be impacted and where people can actually truly learn. So those are some of the challenges. And if you look at the budget for education in Nigeria, it's so small. You
it's
ask
6%
yourself, you ask yourself,
yes.
are we truly serious?
Yes.
Are we truly serious? It doesn't appear as if we are putting enough emphasis on that. And if you want the private sector also to come in, government can regulate, but also give us room and space to also operate. I always give you simple examples. I tell people, you come to my school, they say you want to regulate. You can regulate by saying we should have, let's say, 40 days or 40 weeks of learning in a year. But not come and dictate to me the day which I must open my school and close. Now, you want us to follow you on the public sector. You give us a date, but guess what? Your dates change. We plan 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in advance. So sometimes we're asking ourselves, look, we must be partners in this. We want private sector to help, also give us the room in which we can truly contribute. And there's many things we can talk about in terms of tax breaks and how you can actually make everybody invest. We are quite aware that the public sector cannot deliver all the funds that are required, but clearly create the space, enable the environment for all of us to participate.
And today, do you believe that Nigeria is creating an enabling environment where private education can thrive, grow, and also take advantage of incentives?
Not particularly.
I don't think
so.
We're there yet, to be honest. I think government needs to realize that they can't go it alone. They need to realize that the private sector is there to collaborate with them, and they need to imagine what the education space would look like if there were no private educators to support, the Nigerian educational system. On the qualification front, I think there's too much emphasis on paper qualification. And we have graduates coming out of uni, and honestly, they have very little to offer. They pile up training that are totally irrelevant, and they're going out into the workspace thinking, oh, I have a BSc in engineering, I have a BA in English, but they really have been shortchanged in their education. And I think the emphasis should, like Bimbo said, be on skills. What are employers looking for these days? It's not about having a BA in engineering or a BSc in math. What they're looking out for are people that have skills, people that are creative in their thinking, people that are innovative, people that have good work ethic, people that are diligent,
working
resilient,
in teams and collaboration.
People that can work in a team that can collaborate, people that have very strong communication skills. So it's not about paper qualification anymore. And I think the sooner we realize that we really need to invest in this sector, we'll realize that that is the bane, as far as I'm concerned, of all the things that are happening to us in Nigeria. We're not educated enough. If we're not educated enough, then we don't even know what our rights are. We don't know the right questions to ask. So I just think we need to support this sector.
So as parents are getting ready now to go back to school, to get their kids back, get their kids ready for school, and you've said there's so many teachers that have to relearn the way to teach today. If your kid is in an environment where there's still traditional rote learning, what advice do you have for parents? How can parents still, in their own way, prepare their kids for this new big world out there? Because there's still a lot of kids in Nigeria, across the continent, that are rote learning, and that is going to happen still for a while. How can parents supplement that?
I think parents need to work more closely with their children. Education isn't all about just the educator educating the child. I believe the first teacher of every child actually is the parent. And as parents, we need to take time out from work, making money, making ends meet, to spend quality time with our children. And I believe that that way, they will even know the questions to ask the teachers when they get into school. We shouldn't just sit back and say we've sent our child to school and then the school should be doing everything, bringing up the child, teaching the child etiquette. No, parents have a major role to play in the education of their children, I believe.
Okay. Let me add to that. If you realize they're still doing rote learning, therefore you yourself must not come up with other things the kids will do to complement what is being taught. I always tell people, parents, you have to get involved and know exactly what is going on in the school. And if you yourself are quite clear in your mind what you want your child to be, how you want your child to progress. If you see there's some deficiencies in the school, you have to make the effort to supplement. Now, if it's rote learning, not creativity, what kind of clubs are they going to after school that will also enhance their creativity? You get it? How are they getting involved in things like drama? How do they also enhance some of their musical skills? We tell everybody it's not just about academic qualification. The point was made, and I like this famous quote: nobody is going to pay you for information they can look up. Therefore, if all you've learned in school is how to absorb and regurgitate, you are not going to get. People admire you for your skills for retention, but they're going to pay you a penny for something they can Google. So what that tells you, therefore, is that you have to be very wary. If you see your child is only just repeating and it's not being creative, you yourself must supplement. You can't get everything in a school. You get it, but you must look for what is missing and how can I also now supplement so that you have a well-rounded child.
So this is great for parents that are knowledgeable, that can, for parents that are sitting there going, you still haven't told me what to do. Remember, at the end of the day, when people think of education, people think education is outsourced and is outsourced to schools. It's like, oh, that's their job, this is my job. When you're saying to people, ask your kids this, there's still some parents that don't ask in the house. So, but parents really, one of the things I found doing when I read research studies, that parents like to understand, tell me what to do. I'm sure they come to you and tell you, what should I do? What do you tell parents in that case when they say, well, when you tell them, talk to your kids, and they're like, what do I say? What do I talk about? What type of things can parents do? Remember, kids are going into a school year. Everyone's going to start their schedules. Everyone's going to start moving. How can they make sure that they start their school year on the right footing?
I think parents need to involve themselves more. Look at the curriculum that's being taught. You also be the second teacher at home. Go through the homework. Make sure they're doing their homework the way it ought to be. Don't do their homework for them, but just guide them. Make sure there's strong communication between home and school. If there's anything that you pick up, immediately go back to school to say, it seems that Joke doesn't understand this passage or this part of what has been taught. Can you explain further? I personally don't believe in lesson teachers because I feel that parents kind of abdicate their role as a second educator. And there's also a bit of confusion sometimes as to how they're being taught by the lesson teacher and how school is expected to teach them. I believe that parents need to go back to school themselves to keep themselves abreast of best practices for their children. That's the only way they can ask the right questions when they come into school.
Your question goes down to parenting skills.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the kind of question, I have to interact with parents, and sometimes the kind of things they do say, it's always as if they should go back to school. So this boils down to, are the parents themselves ready to be parents? And I think quite a lot are not. So for those who believe that, I've had parents tell me, oh, I paid my school fees, I brought the child to you, you are the one. I said, no, it must be joint responsibility. And we do make a lot of effort talking to parents even before they come to our school. Please, do you know what it involves? Please, let's both understand. This is a parent handbook. This is your role, this is my role. This is what we'll do together. And when you're failing in your own part, we will call you and tell you, look, you yourself need to actually improve on your parenting skills. So it boils down to that. It's outside my own remit in training your child. You get it. It's as if the society itself, parents have wrong expectation of what the school is supposed to deliver. And it's probably more reflective of our social environment. You get it. But parenting skills is something that needs to be improved upon.
Wow, that is a lot. That's a lot to take in, because if parents themselves need to improve, and almost we need to re-engineer the way parents are taught to parent, as we re-engineer the way teachers are taught to. When you when you look at the traditional teacher training program in Nigeria, what are some of the things we need to start to review when it comes to the traditional teacher training program?
I believe that teaching is no longer about information. It's about knowledge and skills. So, as Bimbo said, if the information is available on Google, and that's what you're teaching my children, you're not actually teaching them anything. What we're teaching kids now is how to use the information, how to come up with innovation and creativity from the information they have around them. So in that essence, we need to engage our teachers to know the right questions to ask the students, even in class. So it's not about what is 1 + 1 and the answer is 2. It is, If this happens to that, what do you expect the outcome to be? That raises critical thinking for the students. Employers are not looking for people that know. Employers are looking for problem solvers, and we need to engage our children that way.
So do you think that the idea of the NC, the teacher training in Nigeria, is that something that is antiquated now, or do you think that it still has a role, it just needs to be reformed?
It has a role, but it needs to be rejigged massively. I don't think, even in terms of curriculum, I don't think it's something that we have looked at in a very long time. Things are changing. In public schools, we don't teach history. How can we be a nation with no history? How do our children go out there and talk about their country, and what is happening, what has happened in the lives of our forefathers? I think there's a lot we can do. There's a lot we need to do, and government has to just take it a lot more seriously. I believe we spend about 6% of our budget on education. I also believe the UN recommends at least 25%.
Yes, that is true.
So if we're not even, there's a huge skill gap for our teachers. There's a skill gap or a knowledge gap in terms of our curriculum delivery. And if government is not taking it seriously, then this problem I foresee going on almost forever.
I want to come back to the history question, but I know that Bimbo has a
Yeah, that history is a very sore point. We'll almost come back to it.
Yes.
Now, on the teacher side, what I also tell people is that there are also so many tools that are out there. Even, we know the curriculum is defective, but there are many tools. The internet is a fantastic place if you know what you're looking for. There are many tools that can make teachers even brush up, where they can also get certifications. They can also interact with other teachers in other environments. All the tools are there. They are all available. So sometimes I tell my teachers, you might have the formal training. Also, for your own side, this is my own training program. What else have you done? How have you accessed all the other tools that are available? British Council is doing a wonderful program here, where you have online learning resources, where you can also get certifications that show that you yourself are looking outside. I spoke about learning outside the classroom. It's for the students. It's also for the teachers. What else are you doing outside the classroom? And people should take advantage of those tools that are out there. There's really no excuse why anybody is not enlightened. It's really because you've not made that effort. You are within your comfort zone. You believe, I'm comfortable where I am. I don't want to learn. But if you go out there, you will see that there's a lot for you to learn, and which you can also implement in your own teaching.
There's a lot you're saying about teachers and teacher training, because that's a huge focal point. But a lot of it sounds that it's the teachers that have to be proactive, rather than almost from a institutional and authority that creates an environment where even if you're not proactive, you're still imparting the right knowledge onto kids. And that brings me to sort of the question around history. When you talk about history being off the curriculum in public schools, first of all, how are you dealing with that? And second of all, how are we engaging in the government in making sure that history is put back on the curriculum?
From our perspective, we do try and teach a bit of history. It's just not a compulsory subject, and it's not one of those subjects that they talk about. But at the end of the day, our view is, if I look at my school, a lot of my students go abroad. And when they go abroad, they're going to interact in other environments. Teaching history gives them a sense of confidence of where they are coming from. It is key to your identity, that having a knowledge of the environment, even if we say things are not working well, having an idea of how did we get to where we are, it's very important for your own learning. I heard things are about to change on the history issue, that they're going to bring history back as one of the subjects that should be compulsory. But we as educators have always felt strongly about this, that history is something that we really must teach. We really must tell people exactly where we're coming from. So it's quite key.
So one of the things we continually hear, this is making headlines every day around the world. Nigeria is now becoming almost sort of the global joke when it comes to kids out of school. There are over 10 million kids out of school. The highest is in Nigeria. A lot of times when we have those conversations, people are like, oh, it's all in the north. But actually, data shows that this is across the country, that over 10 million kids are out of school. I think about maybe 60% of them are in the north, but 40% of those children are not in the north. First of all, what does the government need to do? What advice do we have for people that can, and how can other people help? But from a policy perspective, what does the policy need to be around getting kids off the streets and into schools?
Well, there are various ways we can look at it. First, we don't seem to have the correct data that will enable us to take the right decisions where this is concerned. Where are these children? How many do we have in Lagos State? How many do we have in Ebonyi State? How many do we have in Zamfara State? If we can break the numbers down, then the chief executive officers of these states should now say to themselves, okay, in Lagos, for example, we have 1 million children out of school. Do we have spaces in our current school system to
Infrastructure is a huge issue.
So do we need to put more infrastructure in place to accommodate these children? And when you even look at the sheer numbers, it's huge.
10 million.
What is our population policy as a nation? I mean, are we just having more and more children?
No, we've had that conversation over and over again, that there has to be a conversation about population and population growth.
Certainly. I mean, we just need to look at it. You find that it's the less privileged that are actually having more children. And so again, it's all about education. We need to go out there and talk to them. With improved health system, there really is no need to have 6 children because chances are all 6 of them will survive.
Sure.
How are you going to cope? How much are you earning? Do you want the lives of your dependents to be better than what you have for yourself right now? And how realistic is that, given the current scenario you're in? So I just think we need to begin to talk to ourselves a bit more, and government needs to put in a lot more policies to educate the citizenry and to also look at the school structures to see how many we can truly accommodate.
I think data is the key to that. It's actually like, let's tackle the data issue.
Yes.
Let's actually know how to then build a real milestone towards reducing that number. One of the things you brought up is infrastructure. The one thing we know is that there's not enough infrastructure to accommodate some of the children that are going to be coming out of your school. And if you look at 2030, with the plan, we haven't seen any plans for expansion in higher institutions, even in informal vocational institutions. We don't know that those plans don't exist. How are you approaching, and what are your thoughts around sort of digital learning, and online universities?
That is the way forward. We really have to look at, that's what the policy about. How many universities we have in Nigeria? Barely 100 and something.
Barely, yes.
Very little. It's growing, but it's so minuscule compared to the population of those who actually want to access higher education. Therefore, we have to rethink even our policy around how do we set up universities. By now, we should have what I call specialized universities. Not all universities must do everything. If I look at the current rules, the plans you must submit for a university, but we tried looking at it some years back. You're telling me I can't have a university that probably focuses on, let's say, creative arts alone. You tell me, oh, where's your plan for School of Medicine, School of Law? And I'm saying, look, that's not my area. If you can liberalize that, you start having specialized colleges that are not impacting skills. There is overemphasis on paper qualification and university degree requirements, as if that is a panacea for success. Even in business now for over 25 years schools. But now since some of our more popular, more famous students are not the ones with the triple A's and the first-class degrees and those that went about. No, they are not. There's just an overemphasis on paper qualification. So we need to all look at how do we not create other avenues who can actually get skills and get requisite professional qualification that will guide them along the career path that they've chosen. Not everybody needs to be academic. But because you sent out the message that without a degree, you cannot get anywhere. Without this, so everybody is trying all kinds of things to get that degree, not looking at the quality of the degree or how relevant that degree will be. So if I'm to look at the whole space, how do not also ensure that we also license and give approval for other specialized colleges that people can actually go to? You ask yourself, most of us try to look at the vocational space. You look at those who are doing JAM. You look at those who are coming out of secondary schools. Look at the university spaces. There is a wide gap.
Yes.
And last time I looked at the numbers, you almost about 1 million students.
Yes. Every year.
Every year, shortfall. So the following year, that 1 million is adding to the other 1 million.
Yes.
What are we doing with these millions? What other avenue, what other kind of education can they get that will also make them successful so they don't have to say, I must go back to what? To university.
So we're going to wrap up, but I want to give you guys two education wishes. So there's the education wish being granted, what is your education wish for Nigeria? What are your two education wish for Nigeria? It could be that you think elementary education, universal basic, like,
That no child is left behind, and that every child, in the minimum, has a very solid primary education.
because primary education actually changes outcomes, lifelong outcomes
Certainly.
on all indicators
Certainly.
that create improved lifestyle. So.
Thank you.
Well, for me, I think more emphasis on leadership qualities. We must start emphasizing leadership right from primary school, right through the educational system, the emphasis on it. And within that leadership, more emphasis on citizenry. How do we ensure that we are bringing up proud Nigerians, people who appreciate the environment that we are in, and the educational system must deliver people that are proud of Nigeria.
Once again, thank you so much. Good luck getting ready for school. Good luck to all the parents you're going to be talking to. And maybe some parent classes that people need to enroll for. That could be a new stream of,
Perhaps.
I want to be part of that new stream.
Thank you.
But thank you very much. Time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll be joined in the studio by entrepreneur, educator, and public policy enthusiast, Bosun Adedokun. Stay with us.